And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk.
They're seriously running out of fresh insults from me. Meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg had a full-on public freakout live on air. And nope, it wasn't a hot flash. It was Charlie Kirk casually walking into The View like he took a wrong turn and accidentally detonated a truth grenade. One moment she was flexing like usual. The next she looked like she'd seen a ghost wearing a MAGA hat and a Turning Point USA pin. What exactly did Charlie say to make the whole show short-circuit? Like that? Strap in, because this meltdown was messier than a Real Housewives reunion hosted by Ben Shapiro in drag. Let's dive into midday TV's self-crowned queen, Whoopi, who rules The View like it's her personal soapbox, tossing out opinions with enough ego to power all of Manhattan.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
She's been living in this cushy echo chamber, where punchlines and poorly sourced opinions fly unchecked, supported by that trusty applause button and a panel that nods like bobbleheads. But everything flipped the moment Charlie Kirk decided he wasn't having it anymore with these daytime lectures. Now, Charlie isn't exactly the poster boy for taking down talk show royalty, but somehow he rolled in like a digital guillotine, podcast mic in one hand and a file full of receipts in the other. And no, he didn't sit across from her.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So, the state...
He didn't even show up on set. He fired his shot straight from his podcast studio, casually sipping his coffee while watching the internet catch fire. Whoopi served up one of her usual smug zingers, complete with audience laughter and synchronized nods from the co-host squad. But Charlie spotted the flaw, a crack in her logic. And it wasn't subtle either. It screamed, "Challenge me."
But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away.
And challenge her he did. He wasted no time, like a precision fighter. He zoomed in and dismantled the nonsense with a scalpel made of pure fact. He didn't rant or rave. He set the scene, stayed calm, and then turned up the heat. While most people argue with volume, he brought the evidence, laid it all out, and dismantled her claims piece by piece.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
He picked apart Whoopi's talking points without blinking, and suddenly, boom, the internet lost its mind. Charlie didn't just catch her slipping. He constructed a full IKEA set of contradictions, manual included, pegs, screws, every smug look accounted for, all with that confident smirk, like he knew the clip was going viral before dinner. And the facts, they didn't just refute Whoopi. They practically moonwalked over her monologue while filming a TikTok dance. As his takedown spread, it snowballed into a meme-fueled frenzy. Instagram Reels, everywhere. YouTube Shorts, nonstop. Twitter Threads, multiplying like wild rumors on Reddit. Even people who hadn't touched The View in a decade suddenly became armchair analysts breaking down Whoopi's body language, all because of one sharp response and the chaos that followed.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside the event.
People watching from home started asking the kind of questions that send network execs into panic mode. Stuff like, did she really say that without a single source? Or why is the crowd even clapping? The once invincible bubble that daytime TV floated and suddenly sprang a leak, and it wasn't quiet. Let's be clear here, Whoopi didn't get scorched face to face.
President, you let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazi Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
Well, fast forward to this morning, the host apologized before quickly cutting to commercial.
She got dismantled digitally, taken apart by someone who never stepped foot near the studio. And just like that, the set that once felt like a fortress of feel-good fluff and clapping seals started to feel exposed, wide open and shaky. The air shifted. You could feel it. The uncomfortable silences, the fake half-laughs, and jokes that used to land like fireworks suddenly fizzled out on impact.
Sean, something that struck me in the cease and desist letter was the sentence that specifically The View hosts insidiously and cavalierly stated that TPUSA let the neo into its event, metaphorically embraced them, and it went on. Insidiously and cavalierly. And I felt that perfectly summed up exactly what those women were saying, which is something so deeply toxic and also so lightly thrown out there.
And so false. I mean, these were protesters outside of the event, right? They couldn't get in. These were not neo-Nazis inside of Turning Point USA. They were protesting outside on public grounds, and Turning Point tried to remove them.
Something felt off. Whoopi was still at that table, still tossing out those same signature takes. But the energy, it wasn't glowing like it used to. Her confidence had a subtle crack, the kind you don't notice at first until it spreads. Her delivery felt overly rehearsed, like someone replaying their greatest hits on autopilot while secretly wondering if the crowd still cared.
Do you think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this?
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our event.
Are they even clapping anymore? That's the quiet fear. But the truth is, this wasn't just about Charlie's message. It was about what he proved. You don't need $1 million studio, a glam squad, or a circle of cheerleaders to speak the truth. One guy, one mic, and a straight-up point was all it took. And Whoopi, she didn't fall apart like a soap star. No, it was colder than that. She kept talking, kept showing up, but the vibe had shifted. This wasn't a meltdown. It was erosion, slow, steady, quiet. She'd drop a dramatic line, and instead of thunderous claps, there'd be a cough, a glance, maybe a pity chuckle. That's the sting, when you lose the room and don't even get a warning. One day, the energy's just gone. The show got quiet, eerily so. Even backstage seemed tense. Suddenly the hot takes weren't so spicy. The edgy commentary, toned down like someone handed out a memo. Let's not go viral for the wrong reason again. And the craziest part, Charlie didn't storm the castle. He just unplugged the fan. No shouting match, no wild debate, just a calm, clean truth bomb. Fired with sniper precision and magician-level timing. He didn't attack. He revealed. And this time, it landed not because he's famous, but because he said what everyone else was already thinking. Maybe daytime TV isn't the sacred, untouchable truth machine after all. It wasn't a debate. It was clarity versus chaos. Common sense finally clocked in. And when it did, people started wondering why they ever clapped so hard for monologues. That couldn't even pass a basic Google search.